Is Dallin Holker a deep dynasty stash? We're talking about that in today's video. As always, give us a like and subscribe. And just so you know, we do have a Discord set up. Link is in the description on how to join. It is behind a paywall, so if you want to support us, we appreciate that. But if you get in there, we'll answer whatever questions you have, both redraft, dynasty, trade, start, sit, whatever questions you have. And if we get enough people, we'll try to put in some listener leagues together, both dynasty and redraft as well. But today we are talking about a undrafted rookie tight end in Dallin Holker. He did get signed to the Saints. And we're talking about, we did these type of videos, pre-draft process, looking at some of the bigger name prospects and, their raw numbers, their analytical numbers, and as well as their tape, and putting that all together and trying to, just figure out who's going to be successful and who's not going to be successful. Now we're doing these on some guys maybe we overlooked that are, 6th, 7th round picks, undrafted guys that are kind of making a name for themselves in OTAs, mini camps, and hopefully in training camp, which starts in about a month. But Dallin Holker is who we're talking about today. You see his size here, 6'3", 241. He's a little bit of that new age tight end. The traditional tight ends like 6'5", 6'6", 260, kind of these newer age receiving tight ends that are also decent blockers are more small, a little bit smaller, 6'3", 6'4", 240. You see his 2023 numbers there, 64 catches, 767 yards, 6 touchdowns, which is really, really good for a tight end, by the way. Really good numbers. Again, goes undrafted to the Saints. Some of his combine numbers here, his 40-yard time at 4.78 is pretty average for a tight end. I think it's actually in the 49th or 50th percentile, so dead on average. His 10-yard split is, again, that's how fast you are within the first 10 yards, is at 1.67. This is kind of an undervalued stat that is becoming more and more valued for all positions, not just tight ends, but for running backs and wide receivers is this 10-yard split. Again, how fast are you within the first 10 yards? And there's historical numbers showing that this is actually more valuable than the 40-yard time. So 1.67 for a tight end is actually not great. I think it's in the bottom quarter percentile. It's the 24th percentile for tight ends. And again, it makes sense to be valuable because most people don't run 40 yards straight. Now, 10 yards straight happen a lot more, but 40 yards straight don't really happen that much in the NFL. So another very valuable tool for tight ends is the 3-cone drill. Actually, I think it was PFF that went back and looked at combine drills for each position and in terms of what's the best in terms of predicting future success. And the 3 most important ones for tight ends was the 10-yard split, the 3-cone, and height, in that order. So his 3-cone drill at 6.83 is actually elite. It's in the 95th percentile, I believe, out of all tight ends since, I believe, 2000. So he has an elite 3-cone drill, which is interesting to see because, again, that shows your lateral ability, your cut in and out of breaks, and your ability to find the holes in the zones and things like that. We look at some of his production profile. Now, he had an interesting career, Dallin Holker. He actually started out at BYU in 2018 as an 18-year-old. And then he went on a mission, right, for, religious purposes. He went on a mission to Chile and didn't play in 2019 or 2020. The 2020 could have been more because of COVID, but he didn't play in those 2 years, came back in 2021. So that's an interesting thing. That's an important thing to keep note of. But he played at BYU, again, had a career dominator of 12%. Again, dominator is the percentage for a tight end is the percentage of your team's passing offense. How much of your team's passing offense are you responsible for in terms of passing yards and passing touchdowns? And his is only at 12%, which is, we want to see this closer to 20%. For tight ends, we don't want to, wide receivers, we definitely want to see it north of 20. Tight ends, we want to see it between 15 and 20 or higher. Only 12% is not great. But again, you got to kind of take it into context a little bit because he didn't really get used much his first 2 years at BYU. His first year, he was 18 years old. You don't expect much from a freshman, 18-year-old. Then he missed 2 years, coming back in 2021. It's going to take time to adjust, right? 2022, he was actually doing pretty well, and then he had a pretty bad ankle injury. He only played in 3 games, but over those first 3 games, he was actually, a decent significant part of that offense. He was close to 15% of the team's passing offense over those first 3 games. So maybe he would have done a little bit more. And then he transferred to Colorado State, and we saw his best season where he put up, he was the second leading pass catcher on the team. He put up 23% of the team's passing offense. So that's really, really good numbers for a tight end to put up 23%. Breakout age at 23, again, you got to take it with context, right? He was gone for 2 years. PFF grade of 70.4. You see some of the advanced numbers here. Yards per route run at 1.60. That's actually not great for a tight end, but it's also it's above average, right? At 1.60. So it's not elite numbers, but it's definitely above average. ADOT at 9.4 is pretty standard. Drop percentage at only 7.1%. I think 1 year actually that he had like a double-digit drop percentage, so that kind of inflated that number. All the other numbers were closer to 5% or lower, so that's good to see because for tight ends, you need to make those catches. Yards after catch per reception at 5.55 is really good, shows his ability after the catch. Contested catch percentage at 42.9%. Again, really, really important. That's not great numbers, but that's also not bad. This number being above 40% is good to see. We want to see that at worst above 40% for tight ends because, again, you're making a lot of catches over the middle in traffic, in zone coverage, and you need to be able to bring those catches in. So, and then contested target percentage. I'm looking at this number a lot more, especially for wide receivers. What percentage of your targets are contested? Because I think a lot of that is due to a wide receiver's ability to get open through his route running. If you're a really good route runner, you're going to kind of juke out your defender and find the hole in the zone and things like that. For tight ends, now for wide receivers, we definitely want to see this below 20, and we really want to see it below 15. For tight ends, we anything close to or right below 20% is good. Guys like Brock Bowers, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, we're all hovering between 17 and 22%. Because again, tight ends, you're expected to have more contested catches. So him at 21% is actually pretty good. Pretty good number to see. And that does go back and play into the 3-cone number being pretty elite. Again, his ability to get in and out of routes. Although I do think his route running could be better. It is a little rounded. I'll get into that, more of the tape stuff I saw on tape. Just really quick, yards per route run. He is better in man versus zone in terms of yards per route run. So we do want to see this. We want to see better in zone just because that's the NFL is playing 60 to 70% zone coverage. Each team is playing 60 to 70% zone coverage. And then we see his snap percentage pretty split between inline and the slot. Did line up out wide as well. In the backfield at 17% as well. And I feel like my camera got a little blurry there, so I'm going to clear that off. There we go. So Dallin Holker, what I saw on tape was a player that doesn't wow you athletically, which is why I think he fell and didn't get drafted in the NFL, because especially in the later rounds, if you don't have maybe the production profile there, in the later rounds, teams are going to take a little bit more shots at the athletic guys because you're more likely to translate over, right? If you're super athletic. And so they're going to take a shot on those type of people. Eric All, Theo Johnson, guys like that, a little bit more athletic. Jared Wiley, even maybe. But Dallin Holker, he's not an athletic guy. He's not going to wow you athletically. But he just seems very consistent, can move the chains, gets in, in the red zone. I think he can be a pretty good, weapon in the red zone. He does make pretty amazing catches, like making catches, one-handed catches above his head, making those. His radius is really, really good. Just, again, kind of is good finding the hole in the zone type of player. Is reliable, at catching the ball, is decent at route running, and can make plays after the catch, which is good to see for tight ends. But again, his athleticism is just not quite there, and that's not really something you can get better at. Either you have it or you don't, kind of thing. And so that could limit his upside just a little bit. He doesn't have elite speed to stretch the field. Could be the ankle injury, again, is something you need to keep an eye on because it was a pretty bad ankle injury that he had. and how is he going to be in the physicality of the blocking world of tight ends, right? So all of that to keep in mind. But what I like about him again is he just seems like that reliable tight end moving the chains. Is he going to be Kelsey, Kittle, those type of players? No, he's not. But can he just be a solid tight end for a team that uses him as a weapon? 60 to 70 catches, 700 yards, and then touchdowns. We'll see. It's possible. So that's what I like about Dallin Holker. And again, the opportunity's there. The opportunity's there for him, because this is one of the reasons why I'm making this video. It's because Juwan Johnson apparently has a pretty significant injury. I don't know. I couldn't find news about what exactly it is, but it's like a foot injury, which is always bad, right? He's going to have foot surgery. I know that. So I don't know exactly what the injury is. It did happen early. We're talking about mid-June that it happened. So he could make it back, but he could just be out for a while. That's kind of been Juwan Johnson's problem throughout his career, is the injuries. And obviously you have Taysom Hill there, who's not really a traditional tight end. They use him; he's kind of their weapon. Foster Moreau is there, and with Juwan Johnson being hurt and Taysom Hill being more of just a weapon rather than a traditional tight end, I think they're going to carry 3 tight ends on this team. Probably Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, and that gives Dallin Holker a chance to make this team as an undrafted free agent. So he's a potentially worth a stash. I like to find tight ends. In this capacity, because it gives me the flexibility to move off of maybe the tight ends that people overvalue, like Pat Freiermuth or Luke Musgrave, those type of tight ends that people overvalue, and I get the very similar production from a guy that I just picked up in free agency. So the opportunities there, and the stories are coming out in OTAs and mini camps that he's turning heads, he's impressing, and all of that stuff. I would be a little hesitant on those things because it's a lot of fluff pieces. A lot of people during this time, especially undrafted guys, because the expectation's so low for undrafted free agents, they're more likely to get they're turning heads, versus the first round pick is struggling because we expect so much more. So keep that in mind. But he might be a stash. Throw him on your bench or taxi squad if you can. And we'll see what he turns out. He's an easy cut if he doesn't make the team, or if he's not doing anything in the middle of the season. So there you have it, guys. Dallin Holker, check him out. See if he's out there on the waiver wire, especially in tight end premium leagues as well. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll be putting out more of these for sure. And again, join the Discord if you'd like and subscribe at the very least. Catch you guys in the next video.